JoKer, level 7 upgrade. So today I'm going to be installing Hot Racing's aluminum heatsink motor plate for the E-Revo 2.0. I originally was going to go with Energies, but I thought I'd go ahead and go with this one. I just like the coloring and design a lot more. So let's go ahead and get this installed. So the first thing I need to do is take off the motor. I'm going to start by taking off the gear cover. It's held on with a single screw. Go ahead and pop that off, and now it's time to remove the motor by undoing the motor mount screw. With that out of the way, you can see that I can't take out the motor because this motor is so big that the rear shock rubs up against it. So I need to go ahead and take off the rear chassis brace. Mine is held on with 3 screws. If you have the stock one, it's going to be held on with 7. Pull that off, set it to the side, and now you can see that the shocks can be pulled out of the way. However, the shock brace is now blocking the motor. So now we need to take that off. Now, of course, due to the crazy design of the E-Revo, there's 2 screws that undo the shock brace is underneath the middle skid plate. So I need to go ahead and take off all the bottom skid plates. I'm going to start off with rear. It's held on with 4 screws. Pull off the rear skid plate, and now it's time for a little experiment. I'm going to see if I can pull off the middle skid plate without having to take off the front one. So I'm going to undo 8 screws. We have these 2 up front, these 2 on bottom, these 2, and these 2. As you can see, I still can't pull it up. So let's try undoing this one. Alright, so let's lift that up, and I think we can actually get it out. Oh, just barely. Finally. All that effort just to get to these 2 screws. On top, I can finally pull off the shock brace, and now I can slide the motor back and off. Well, that took long enough, and what in the world? Pinion gear was not supposed to fall off. Ooh, that's not good. What I'm gonna do is put some Loctite on that grub screw and reattach it, because yeah, that could have been bad. Well, not bad, but annoying to get to, considering what you just saw I had to do. So, next up, it's time to go ahead and take out the transmission. Back on the bottom, I need to go ahead and disconnect the center drive line from the transmission. On each side of the center drive line, you are going to see a grub screw that I need to go ahead and remove. Slide that back, and it looks like I can't slide that forward, so we might run into another issue. But for now, let's go ahead and unmount the transmission by undoing the 4 screws that hold it in. Alright, so let's see if this will come out. Oh, thank you. Alright, so let's go ahead and take out the spur gear. It's held in with 6 screws. Alright, now we can go ahead and pull the spur gear off, followed by this cheat washer. We get the axle bar, pull that off to the side, pull that part off, and now we finally reach the screws that hold on the motor mount plate. It's held on with 4 screws. Pull it off, and now I need to undo the screw that holds on the motor mount peg. Finally got that out, and we have the plate. Now, let's go ahead and open up the new one. Inside, they do give a sticker, which I'm not going to be using, and we have the plate itself, which looks good. I like this a lot. So now it's time for the reverse process. I need to go ahead and put on the motor mount peg. All right, looking good so far. Something I did just realize is you can see where the pinion gear came off and was rubbing up against the plate. Oof. It's not going to matter too much because that's going to be underneath the gear cover, but still, I'm glad I caught that. Anyways, moving on, we're going to go ahead and attach this to the transmission. Slide this down and reattach the 4 screws that hold it in place. So after attaching the plate, I realized I could go ahead and replace the 3 screws that hold on the 3 heat sinks. So I did that, and now it's time to go ahead and put the spur gear back on, including the slipper pads. So I'm going to slide this down, put in the bar, and slide that into position. Get this stupid little plastic washer. Now I'm going to slide it all down, and then reinstall the 6 screws that hold it in place. So I'm just going to get the transmission and slide it in, making sure that it slides into the front drive line, And now I'm going to reattach them both by putting in the 2 grub screws that hold them in place. Then I need to go ahead and reattach the 4 screws that hold the transmission in. Once again, back on top, I'm going to get the motor, slide it onto the peg. Then I'm going to reattach the motor mount screw as well as the gear cover that's held on with a single screw. Now it's time to reattach the rear shock brace. Remember, it's held in with 2 screws from the bottom. After that, I'm going to get the middle skid plate, lift up the front skid plate, and slide that back down. Reinstall the 8 screws that hold this down as well as the single screw that goes in the front skid plate. Last thing I need to do on the bottom is reattach the rear skid plate, which is held in with 4 screws. Back on top, the last thing I need to do is reattach the rear chassis brace, which is held in with 3 screws. Here's before, and here is after. And I have to say, it looks so much better than the blue plate. But I'm not done with this upgrade yet. There's one more thing I want to do. So it's time to get rid of some more blue. As you can see, the bearings that are used in the rockers have a nice bright blue rubber seal. I don't like the look of that, so I'm going to go ahead and replace them. First of all, I need to take the rockers off. They're held in with 3 screws. With the rocker off, I need to go ahead and hold this nut in the back down while I unscrew the screw on top. Now I can pull off the rockers from this weird little pull, and now I have access to both of the bearings. And there you have it. I only had to change the one on the top because, well, you're not going to see the one on the bottom. Now it's time to go ahead and reattach this to the RC as well as the 2 screws that hold on the shock and the push rod. Here is before, and here of course is after, and honestly I have to say they do look a lot better. So slowly but surely I am taking care of everything that is blue on this RC. The last couple things I need to take care of are the blue boots that are on the base of the A-arms and these blue wheel nuts, as well as the hubs for the actual wheels. As for the ESC, I have a couple of options, but I'm not too sure about what I'm gonna do. I think I'm just gonna keep it as is because that thing is in perfect condition. I don't want to try to dye it like I've done in the past with other ESCs. That is very risky and I could damage it, and I don't want to spend $150+ for something that I really don't need to spend money on. So right now, I do have to complain that these bearings are not the proper size. They are a little bit small. It's not going to affect the performance all too much, but I am going to have to replace them in the future. Perhaps with a red bearing, if I could find those. I'm pretty sure that they have them. I mean, they have blue, yellow, and all these other colors, so I'm sure red is an option. But for now, this upgrade is done. As always, before I end this video, I have to say thank you to everyone who's helped me on Patreon. Because of you guys, these upgrades are possible. And that, of course, was the level 7 upgrade for JoKer.